You know, when I think of craft drinks, the first thing that pops into my mind is a Hoppy Session IPA, or maybe a smooth single malt whiskey aged to perfection in a sherry cask, or maybe a dark, roasted, earthy coffee. But what about fermented tea?
Today we're in Northwest Baltimore to learn about one of the oldest beverage recipes in the world and meet up with the innovators who are turning it into a modern day craze.
Welcome to Wild Kombucha on this episode of Hops, Grounds, and Mash. Hey Sid,
Hey.
Thanks for having us, man. Really appreciate it.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to Wild Kombucha.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, is it kombucha or kombucha, and what is it?
So kombucha actually dates back to China, hundreds and hundreds of years. And the way the story goes is there was a Korean doctor named Kombu that brewed this healing tea for the emperor, cha, and you put it together, you get kombucha.
So how did your company come up with this whole thing of bringing it back?
So I started the company with two childhood friends, Adam and Sergio, and they actually grew up making kombucha. We started selling in February 2015. We rented the side of a juice shop in Hamden in Baltimore. The company's name is Mobtown Fermentation. It's an ode to Baltimore. And the product's name is Wild Kombucha. And the reason we're called Wild Kombucha is for every bottle we give for the protection of wildlife habitats.
Why do you think it's becoming such a big craze now?
Well, I think people are just starting to pay attention to what they put in their bodies. People don't want soda as much anymore because it has, 50 to 60 grams of sugar versus a kombucha is in that 10 to 15 range. And on top of that, you get the other health benefits that people are looking for.
In fact, not only is the tasty tea non-alcoholic, but local magazines have rated it as the best hangover cure in Baltimore. So if you want to nullify that morning headache, consider ending the night with Wild Kombucha.
Traditionally, the fruity beverage comes in a bottle, but it can also be found on draft, so it's perfect for anyone who isn't drinking to still fit in at social gatherings. And the pub isn't the only place you'll find the green tea-based refreshment. Mobtown Fermentation has already expanded into 8 states across a variety of stores.
The bigger ones you can find us in are Whole Foods. We actually just launched with all of the giants this week. From grocery stores to yoga studios to local mom and pops, we love to work with independent businesses.
What sets you apart from maybe other kombucha makers and distillers and such?
So we pride ourselves on making a more approachable tasting kombucha. Kombucha is often known for this intense vinegar tone that can be off-putting to first-time drinkers. Through fermentation techniques, we're able to make a more balanced brew.
Okay, well now I know what it is. I gotta see how it's made.
Great, well I'm gonna send you over to Adam, my co-founder, and he'll show you how it's made.
Awesome, let's go.
Hey Adam, thanks for having us and walking us around the facility. So we just came from Sid and he said that this kind of started with you and a family recipe?
That's correct. About 16 years ago I started making kombucha with my family. So basically it's a tea. And we make our tea in this big kettle right here. This thing simply just heats the water up and then you throw massive tea bags in and let it steep. And then we pour huge bags of sugar. Throw about like 6 or 7 of those in there, a whole bunch of tea, and that's the base for kombucha.
So after this process then, where do we head to next?
Once this is done, we pump the product from there, the concentrated tea sugar, into our fermentation tanks. And then you put a culture in so that we can put the correct weight into these tanks here. These will sit here longer than that.
Okay.
That's just for drinking, but this is just to grow the culture. This takes about a month and a half.
Oh wow, okay.
But we ferment this for just 2 weeks. We have the tea sugar, we have the more water, we have the SCOBY, symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. And then we have starter. Starter is basically a liquid you add to the brew to get the pH down and to kickstart the fermentation. All of our flavors start out the same. And then when it's done, the first stage of fermentation, then we add the juice and flavoring and bottle it.
We're at the stage now where the flavors kind of get implemented, right? How does that kind of go about?
We literally just add juice and we basically mix it with the kombucha and pump it into these big tanks here. These are called bright tanks. And then we pressurize it and that pressure helps force the product into our bottling machine.
So how often are you guys moving this stuff?
Half of that room gets bottled per week. So half that room is bottled and then rebrewed, and the other half gets bottled. It goes back and forth. Once it's done, we flavor on that same day and bottle it.
So Sid's told us what this thing is. Adam's shown us how it's made.
And Wes kind of wants to know what it tastes like. Adam, thanks so much again for everything. We really appreciate it, man.
This has been awesome.
Let's give it a try.
And what 3 flavors do you have for us to try today?
So I have our elderberry, our watermelon hops, and our upbeat. And we're gonna start with the elderberry. Similarly to blueberries, they're really rich in antioxidants.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but they'll have a little bit more subtle of a flavor, so we actually add a splash of grape juice to really make it pop.
Let's give it a shot. Cheers,
First
gentlemen.
kombucha.
Cheers.
First
Let's do
kombucha.
it.
All right. Wow. I was not expecting that. That is really sweet and really good.
The first thing that comes to mind to me is refreshing.
Yeah, very refreshing.
Very refreshing.
So next we have my personal favorite, our watermelon hops. So this flavor is actually different than every other one we make because we dry hop it with a Citra hops for 5 days to really have it absorb that flavor.
Oh, it smells hoppy, you're right.
Oh, wow, it does smell very hot.
Yeah.
It smells like a
so
beer.
You get
Yeah.
that sweetness of the watermelon and that hoppiness.
Wow, I got to get on this train. Okay, well, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That is really
so
good.
good. Is there a certain way that you should try kombucha?
Our mission is to make, natural foods, healthier drinks, more accessible to the whole community instead of a select few.
So you don't have to be proper about it. You can just pop the top and enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's how we designed it, right? You just twist it off, you pair it with lunch and enjoy it.
There it is.
And that's the upbeat that we're going to be
Yeah,
getting a shot.
and this is
to.
our newest flavor. As you can see from the color, the beet
It's a really cool
really
color.
gives it a cool tone.
Let's get
Yeah,
ready to
let's give it a
digest
try.
this. Let's give it a shot.
Enjoy.
Thank you. All right. Now, one thing I noticed is that the vinegary kind of taste, the smell on this one, it has a little bit of an earthy kind of smell to it as well.
When you have like organic beet juice, you do get that earthiness that naturally occurs in the beets themselves.
But it's still really sweet juice, which I wasn't, when you said beet, I'm like, okay, beet's not thinking that's going to be like real sweet
the
and
apple
enjoyable.
juice really balances that
That's
out.
what it is.
Sid, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you
This
so
is some
much,
of the most
guys.
delicious things I've ever tasted.
Real quick, where can people check you out as far as social media? Do you sell any merchandise, anything like that?
Yeah, check us out on Instagram. Our handle is just wild_kombucha. And look for us in stores.
Wow, it's amazing how much you can do with just tea, sugar, and fruit.
Yeah, and who'd have thought that a 2,000-year-old drink that tastes so good would make quite a comeback?
I've always enjoyed a good craft beer, but since kombucha is a tasty and healthy alternative to alcoholic drinks, I think I can make some room in my life for both.
Well, if you guys want to get your hands on one of the many flavors that Mobtown Fermentation offers, you don't have to go far. Wild Kombucha is already stocked on the shelves of grocery stores like Giant, Whole Foods. You can even find it in your local cafes.
But if you want the full experience straight from the tap and you want to come in to see the process for yourself, all the information you need is right below the video. Now, as always, every occasion needs a good send-off. And Aaron, I think it's your turn this week.
Well, in that case, here's to a bright new chapter and a fond farewell to the old. Here's to the things that are yet to come and to the memories that we hold.
And remember, guys, if you have a toast that you'd like to have featured, leave it in the comments to have it picked up for a future episode. And we'll see you next time on Hops,
Grounds,
and Mash.
Hops, Grounds, and Mash!